let's get started with this bonus clip here. I want to talk about an iconic man. I mentioned him in a little, I guess, mini review, you could say, of basketball classics. And I want to talk a little bit about Tupac Shakur. That's right. The man himself, the iconic rapper from the 90s, did hits such as, Unconditional Love and California Love. Many people don't know, and those who do know, he's been actually in some films. He's been in Poetic Justice, that was in 93, Juice in 92, Above the Rim in 94, Gang Related in 97, which actually came out after he died. We're going to get to most of his iconic films, I would say, the ones that he's mostly known for. And I want to get started with one that's fresh in my head because I actually just seen it completely by accident. Let me tell you, Steve. I mean, completely. It was like...
My curiosity is killing me just like a cat would be killed by the curiosity, yeah.
And then it was a little bit of the...
Wow, that's really something.
I actually saw Gang Related. Yeah, this was a interesting film. I was kind of captivated by it. Now, it gets a 6.5 out of 10 on IMDb with a 53% on Rotten Tomatoes. 91% of people like this film, however. Box office 5.9 million. The screenplay was done by Jim Kof. It was also directed by Jim Kof. Tupac Shakur, Leo Rochin, Jim Belushi, James Earl Jones in it. He was very small. He actually played the attorney. Dennis Quaid's barely in it too. Wendy Crewson, Gary Cole. This is an interesting film. It's actually kind of the original Training Day.
Yeah, a little bit.
And I say that very, very conservatively because this film kind of doesn't know what it wanted to be. For those of you who have never seen it, so spoilers ahead a little bit, the premise of it is Tupac and his partner are both cops. And they basically mug drug dealers. They kill drug dealers, take their drugs, and take their money. And they're basically running this scheme for a long period of time until they accidentally kill a DEA officer, undercover DEA officer. Then the whole precinct comes down on them because, of course, they got to find out who murdered this guy, otherwise the FBI is going to be on them. And it's a big whole, they're in charge of their own case. But the movie itself is really interesting because, yes, it is about corrupt cops, but it's about a lot of different things, which is really hard to kind of pinpoint this movie because it's like one of those films you watch and it's like, oh, thriller because this part happened in the beginning and then all of a sudden they just threw it in at the end. But I digress. Let me get back to it here, my listeners. So, after they kill the DEA agent, of course they're in charge of their own investigation. They basically start to try to frame people for this murder, which becomes almost a montage throughout the whole film, them trying to frame people for this murder. They successfully do it with a bum. They actually find a bum, and they brainwash him through booze and basically kind of subliminal messaging that he killed this DEA officer in self-defense because he was drunk or whatever. He thought he was somebody, yada, yada, yada. And basically they try to pin it on him until someone just comes out and points out that he couldn't even, he didn't even remember where he was, let alone who he is, so how could he even commit this crime? And thus the bum walks, and then they try to just kind of pin it on people in court cases, and one guy in particular is like, hey, that's not my gun, and then it's a big freak out and all this. And the whole reason these guys are corrupt is because they both have their own ghosts in the closet and demons, especially Tupac, which his whole character does not make sense to me in this movie, because he is a cop being held up by racketeers for gambling. That's right. He basically, his whole thing is he's trying to get money because he has to fend off these loan sharks who are basically after to kill him. I just felt like in the movie that's about a cop, when you're a cop, that's it. You could be like, I'm a damn cop. You ain't going to come after me for anything. I'll come down on your whole organization. I'll just let someone in on your business. So I really didn't see that whole premise as like, wow, that didn't make any sense, But not just that, it's the way, spoilers, how Tupac actually dies. He actually dies in all of his films. This is a trait. So anyway, when he dies, basically, he walks into his apartment, really pissed off that he has to betray his partner, basically selling him out to the police, because of course they're going to get caught because they can't pin anybody on this crime, and all of a sudden, these loan sharks are in his house, and he has a gun, and does he pull it out? No! He goes, and charges at them, and basically, we awaken to him dead the next day against the wall. And I'm like, wow, realistically, he could have just pulled the gun out, shot them both, and been like, they broke in my house. I was self-defense.
Yeah, I'm a police officer.
I'm a police officer. Who are you going to believe, me or these scumbags?
Yeah, they're loan sharks.
That's what I'm saying. His whole character didn't make sense. And then you get to the end with Busey, where he is basically trying to ride off into the sunset after basically killing the other woman that's involved and, killing off all the witnesses. And then all of a sudden, he's in the limo, and he gets killed by the guy who they try to pin the crime on, like one of the random guys in the beginning.
One of the random guys, like.
And it's like, that's what it was so random. It would have been like in Seven if Kevin Spacey didn't drop any hints of himself at all, and all of a sudden, at the very end of the film, he was just like, yeah, I did it. And you're like, who's this guy? That's how this kind of was. And, well, gang related, I appreciate it for what it was trying to do. I thought it was really interesting. It kept me watching it. I just thought the execution of some elements of the film were so poorly done. And I understand that people said, this came out like 2 years after he died, this and that, maybe they didn't get to finish it. No, it seems like a complete film. They still could have finished it in very different ways. I think it was just kind of failed to start because, again, this is Tupac, and it was probably built on the nostalgia of Tupac being in the movie playing a cop.
Yeah.
So they didn't even think about the script here. But, overall, I would say this movie came before Training Day. Was it as good as Training Day? No. But it was interesting. It was I think one of the first attempts to really, besides Bad Lieutenant, to show like how corrupt cops can really be. I mean, we've had films forever about corrupt cops, but this was one of those really, really gritty ones.
Like follow them, it's about the Jim Belushi and Tupac's characters.
Yeah.
And you're it's like Training Day. Like Training Day is just those two cops. This movie is like just those two cops.
Yeah.
And them just doing horrific stuff.
And turning on each other.
Right? So like, which is another thing that happens in Training Day. So, I don't know. I didn't hate this. I actually liked this film a lot. When I first saw it, I was right around like 99, 2000. So the film was still kind of like, it was like deemed as one of those like fresh hood movies, sort of.
I mean, it's more of a cop movie. I wouldn't call it a hood movie. I'd call it a cop movie.
It's a cop movie with like hood tendencies because they're doing stuff that like people do in the hood, right? You know what I mean? Like especially with like
the idea that cops are corrupt, killing drug dealers and dealing drugs to the community. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so definitely. And then they're just kind of shining a light on it, and Tupac being like a black cop who's doing that, and you know what I mean, kind of like trying to live with himself. And it was just weird. You're right. There were some things in it that were just like, really, like, why is that relevant? Yeah, why is that relevant? Or you're gonna go like that, or that didn't make sense. Why did this happen? I don't know if that has to deal with like, again, maybe they were just like, who cares about the plot? Tupac's in a movie and he's a cop, and people are just gonna be like, what? I gotta watch this. What is this about? So, I don't know. It seemed weird at the time. I think the last time I've seen this was like last year. But again, I didn't hate it the last time I saw it. I popped it on. I was just like, it was what it was.
But it's one of those things that what did you say? What it was? You mean
what it is what it is.
Thank you, Randy. That's right, Steve. Anyway, no, I completely understand what you're saying, but it was like, we can appreciate it as, film critics being like, it was a good for what it attempted to do. Like, I like Brightburn, personally. But critically, no, it's not that good.
The premise you liked.
Yeah, the premise of it I liked. The premise of this movie I liked too. But it just fell short in the execution of it, especially the end. Especially because you're just like, what? Okay, so that guy killed him? Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I would have been satisfied if they killed each other at one point,
Yeah, why didn't they do that route?
It would have been better.
It would have been, like, super cool. Maybe, I don't know, if you had, like, Tupac kind of, like, you know what, we deserve to go down. I don't know, something needs to happen. But it was just odd. They kind of, people were saying that this movie was rushed at the time because of how abrupt the ending happened. They was like, all right, it's over.
It's not an abrupt ending. It's just kind of a lazy ending,
Yeah, just like,
I mean, they could have did that with the bum in that part. They could have switched it up with the bum.
Why did they do that with the bum?
And it actually probably would have meant more, because then it would have been like, oh, wow, he actually got conscious. He actually figured what was going on. It would have actually made more sense.
You guys are trying to, like, whatever.
Screw me over.
And I actually am a crazy bum, and I will kill you.
Yeah, see, that would have made more sense. Yeah, rewrite. That actually would have made more sense. Let's go into another film I spoke about. I'm going to speak more about on the performance of Tupac, however, rather than the film itself. Above the Rim. If you haven't heard me, talk about this film, please go to our webpage and look up basketball films that we talked about. Above the Rim classics, I should say. Above the Rim premises, it's about a guy trying to get into Georgetown, and he basically is torn between a tournament in which to basically play for his community and his coach, or rather play for the thug of the neighborhood, Birdie, which is played by Tupac. You know, as I said before about Above the Rim, I like Above the Rim when I was a kid. I thought it was a really good film when I was a kid because I liked basketball. I'm a huge basketball fan. However, now that a lot of other films have come out, you know, specifically like He Got Game and some of the like Glory Road and some of those other films, it really does fall flat on its face as another cliche 90s movie, you know, where you have the guy that's not even on the team. Does he want to be a part of the team? Does he not? I don't know. But he has to figure out his demons to come help a friend who's just like him in a way. You know, and as you get to the whole, he's not, you know, basically almost an Airbud thing. He can't play. It's like, there ain't no rules to say he can't play. He's on the roster, you know? So it's like, you know, that's the movie. I think the movie, though, the reason it's so nostalgic is because it is Tupac. Because it's playing Tupac. I don't even know if it's Tupac is most thuggish, you would say.
It wasn't. He was just there, kind of.
Yeah.
He did some things, right?
Yeah, I mean, you know, he gets killed by Marlon Wayne in the club, you know, which was another movie where, again, he gets killed. I like Above the Rim. I should say, I think Above the Rim is decent now. I used to like it. I think it's decent now. I just think Tupac was Tupac in this film. It was kind of an earlier point in his, it was kind of midway in his career with acting. I just felt like this one he kind of dialed it in a little bit. I don't know. I mean, I thought his performance in Gang Related was way better than it was in Above the Rim.
Because he wasn't really acting in Above the Rim. His presence was just like, oh my god,
that
it's
was
Tupac.
enough,
you know what I mean? I think that's what it was. Because he kind of just like showed up and he didn't. It was just like, alright.
Yeah, I would say that too.
It wasn't really his film. He was in it, right? But it was more or less like the basketball-esque side of things for him in that film.
So let's move into Poetic Justice. Take it away with Poetic Justice, because I haven't seen this film in a long time.
Yeah, I haven't seen this in a long time, but I know it. Yeah, so she's like a hairdresser. She's kind of well known. Her boyfriend gets killed. As a backstory, so she's kind of like grieving off of that. She starts writing poetry, and it's kind of like, I don't know, it's like an early 90s thing. Like, her life isn't going the way she wants it. She doesn't want to keep doing this. She meets Tupac, who's like he's like a mailman kind of thing. That's where you kind of see all like the cosplays of like the mailman Tupac with the backwards hat. It comes from this film, and then she kind of was like, you know, do I want to mess with this guy or not, kind of thing. So it's like a love story. We got Regina King in this as well, who's like a friend of hers. You know, I don't know. It's okay. It's growing.
Got a 6 out of 10. IMDb 34%, but 93% of people like it.
Yeah, because this is a great film, and it's a great film if you were like from the hood, you know what I mean? Like,
done by John Singleton.
Yeah, another. So this, who also comes from the Boys of the Hood fame, stuff like that. So this is a great film. I love this film just because it was.
Did Higher Learning.
Higher Learning, which is another fantastic film.
Shaft.
Shaft, not so much, but yeah, man. Like, this film was cool. This is one of the most iconic Tupac movies, maybe the most
I would
iconic.
say the most iconic, and I would say the movie that may be the most controversial to him, as he has stated in other documentaries, as I recall. They were Janet Jackson, I believe, was very adamant about him wearing like underwear and stuff during the lovemaking scenes.
Yeah.
And all that. She thought he was very sketchy.
Yeah, because he was behind the scenes. There was a lot of so Tupac was notorious behind movie scenes for like doing what he wanted to do, because he's Tupac, right? So he didn't like take like authority well. He would do some stuff. So like when the scene happened where there was, spoiler alerts, there's like a love scene, right? Yeah, he was just like, nah, I don't want to wear any sock, I don't want to wear any whatever. Like, you get naked, I get naked, we're just not gonna do anything. Janet Jackson was like totally not down with that, because she was still making I think she was making an album with Michael Jackson at the time. That's like when that Scream song came out. So she's like, yeah, I don't want to tarnish my image like that, and I'm not like that. And she isn't. So there was like a little rift, nothing too major, but it was like,
he was very offended by it, apparently.
Yeah, he was kind of pissed. He was just like, well, why are you doing that? You're gonna turn me down? Like, I'm Tupac. So
yeah,
you know, it was a little weird at that point when they were filming. I think it was like towards the end of the filming process, but other than that, like, yeah, it was great because of the the chemical romance of what happened with them on set, like the kind of like the sketchy bad boy, right?
Yeah.
Meeting this girl who's like, I've been hurt, and I don't know about you. I like you, but you're not really. I don't know your backstory. I'll take
like a Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah,
but
with poetry.
in the hood.
Yeah, in the hood with poetry, right? And it's not just about like killing and shit.
So let's go ahead and move into Juice, 1992, about Q and Bishop. Q wants to be a DJ. Bishop, played by Tupac, of course, dabbles in petty crime again. And again, it's one of those stories where Tupac almost seems to be holding the main guy back because he wants to stay in the hood premise. That's basically what Juice is about, you know. And it's another one of those, as I should have said about Above the Rim and the other movies he does, it's about coming out of the hood.
But this is the most iconic movie Tupac has made, just because like this is the film they wanted him to see.
Yeah.
He's the hood dude. He's straight up like gangster. That's where the Riverside motherfucker came from when he blasted that dude in the alleyway. Like he's just like totally two sides of every coin. It's like
Juice is brutal.
It's brutal, bro. Like you get one guy who's like, I'm tired of this shit. I want a DJ to get out. He's like, why are we getting out? I'm just gonna like totally be in the hood.
You make such a great point because Juice is very iconic. I mean, Juice, you could say, is the king of the hood films, as you said, because, you know, you think about Boys to the Hood, Menace to Society, you know, South Central. Yeah, those movies are brutal in their own way, especially Boys in the Hood, but Juice kicks it up a notch, too. I mean, Juice is pretty crazy. I think Juice is actually a...
Because look at the premise. There's 4 friends, right? And they're, like, lifelong friends. This is the hood. Like, they're like your brothers, because that's all you see and know. And they want to get out the hood, so what do?
By crazy, I meant very realistic.
Realistic, and that's what they're like. We got to get out somehow. We're gonna rob a place, right? But they rob some place that's too close to home. They get kind of scared, and over a tussle, he like kill his friend, right? Like he kills his friend, and then he gets that bloodlust that a lot of people in the hood get, right? And then they don't know friend from foe, and then they're just like, I'm just gonna get mine, no matter who I have to, you know, who gets in the way, I'll do what I gotta do, type of deal. You know what I mean?
It's interesting though, you know, as we've explained with his film so far, he kind of has the same role. And while I don't try to knock someone for that, because I think some people are just naturally perfect in that role, besides gang related, I think Tupac had a very short career, and I mean that in a very good way. I mean, it would have been interesting to see him. He probably would have moved in more into movies and probably away from rap later on, just like many of the other ones have. Like, you know, Ice Cube has done more movies now. Yeah. It's more of a thing now to do movies as well. So we probably would have seen him in more movies nowadays.
Well, you would have back then. Yeah. But it goes back to his backstage antics.
Yeah.
He was actually supposed to be Kane in Menace to Society. Like he was supposed to be the lead, but he like screwed it up by like beating up a bunch of gangsters like behind the scenes, and John Singleton didn't want to work with him.
Yeah.
So like he was staying clear of him. I think there was like a sitcom that he was supposed to stay on. He kind of screwed that up. So like there was some stuff for him to like get up out of the role of like the gangster type role. But he had to make his way somehow. So, and
you don't think you think if he would have changed, he'd been in more movies?
I think he would have, and it kind of showed in gang related, right? Like he was a cop. It wasn't the greatest premise, but it was somewhere to start. Like he was away from
that gangster
role. He was still being it, but he was a cop though.
When I saw him as a cop, actually, I was like, wow. He's not a bad cop. He's believable.
Yeah.
He's believable. I believe this is a guy that used to maybe be in the hood that turned into a police officer.
Which happens.
So that's why I actually enjoyed gang-related, personally. But yeah, that's going to be this segment on Tupac movies. We hope you enjoyed it. Please listen, like, and subscribe.
Let's talk about the COVID shit.
Okay. I got an interesting conversation I want to get into. Kind of a topic no one is talking about. And again, you know, as Real Sharks does, we are paving the way on some of these topics. Yes, that is right, we are. So that's why you're here, my audience. That's why you listen. You're going to want to listen to this because I believe it's going to be coming up soon. So here it is. I believe, and I want to hear what you think, Steve, do you think we're going to face a new wave of censorship because of COVID? Do you think movies now, such as epidemic movies, pandemic movies, are going to be, you know, ousted? Like, we're never going to see a movie called Outbreak again. You're not going to be able to see movies that depict people getting sick and dying of diseases, and piling up bodies. You're not going to be able to see that no more. It's going to be kind of, more or less softened. Maybe even medieval movies that dealt in the Black Plague, we will see less of. Because there are movies that are like that. We have films that are about, even zombie films might be dialed back a little bit. And it makes me wonder, are we going to do that? Because for those of you who say, oh, you're reaching too far, oh, that's not going to happen, it actually has before, especially with after 9/11. After 9/11, we could not depict too many movies that just showed infrastructure being destroyed. You couldn't show terrorism as much. The terrorists had to have a means to an end. Basically, you couldn't just show random terrorists anymore.
And they also could not win.
Yes, the terrorists could not. Yes, that's a great point. The terrorists could not win. There had to be a plot to show why America is good against terrorism. That is actually real. You can look it up, my listeners. That really happened.
And America has to be the one to destroy the terrorism.
Yes, it was a wave of censorship that took over 9/11. That's why you also don't see too many movies about planes being hijacked anymore, like Air Force One.
Air Force One, yeah, right. Yeah,
you don't see that anymore.
That's true.
That's hardly around anymore. So I've just kind of wondered, do you think we're going to face a new wave of censorship with COVID? I mean, are pandemic movies and outbreak movies and zombie movies, are they going to be a thing of the past?
Nah, I feel like, to be honest with you, it's quite the opposite. I think we're actually going to see a movie based off of COVID-19, like maybe a Contagion 2, just because of how unfazed America will be by this. Like, you got to think about how many people are even going to remember this by the next year. They're going to be like, oh yeah, that happened. Even though it still might be around, I'm not going to get into that. But in the movie stake, it's Hollywood. Hollywood makes their money on controversy
and history
and messing it up. So,
I was going to say what they perceive as
yeah, whatever they perceive. So who's to say that they might not make a Contagion 2 loosely based off of this virus that we have, what's going on, and then like totally be like, oh, America solves it. Like, it comes from some other unknown country that we're not going to name, and then it's like, yeah, America solved the problem single-handedly, and then, like, that's how we got rid of it.
I don't know, Steve. I mean, I'm going to just play devil's advocate here. I think people are going to be mad. I think people are going to start to get not only tired of outbreak films and tired of zombie films, but they're going to start to reject them all entirely, because if this pandemic goes on longer, and I'm not trying to be political, I'm not trying to be anything, however, if it continues on to the point of where people are literally having cabin fever, which is another movie, that would actually be banned, people are starting to have cabin fever, I really believe people are going to be like, I don't want this crap streaming into my television. You got nothing but pandemic movies, nothing but grim, bleak outcomes. I don't want to see that. I just think some people are going to be ultra sensitive to it. I think we won't see a huge uptake in it. However, though, I think there will be blowback to the next movie you see about a big pandemic, or, as you stated, a movie about COVID itself. I guarantee you, people will be like, or where somewhere, some person is going to be like, that movie didn't depict how my rights were stolen from COVID, because of COVID. It didn't depict my hardship exactly. There'll be blowback to this whole movie even being Hollywood-sized, I would say, or whitewashed Hollywood style. Because some people would even make the argument, oh, it's Hollywood. What do they know about what happened? All the elites, they were up in their mansions living the high life while everyone's dying in the streets.
Yeah, it's true, man.
I'm just playing devil's advocate. Do I hope that happens? No. Do I hope I'm wrong? Yes.
But that there might be some protests about that. Maybe you're right though, Rob. People think that might be crazy, like, oh, get rid of zombie films. But think about it. Zombie films aren't on the rise right now.
I think about things like Da Vinci Code, for example. Remember how everyone threw a fit about the Da Vinci Code?
It's true.
I mean, that was a movie that depicted one essence of the Bible. One essence. And there's been movies that have done that before. And it's so ridiculous. I mean, I think of The Prophecy. That movies that really interpret the Bible really heavily,
But look how many have been made since.
Look at people. They freaked out, though. They freaked out about the Da Vinci Code when it came out. And don't no one say, oh, no, they didn't. That was liberal. No, they did. They did. I remember when I was in high school, they were protesting outside the theaters about the Da Vinci Code.
And Angels and Demons. They were freaking out about that one, too.
Yes, but, when it came to Passion of the Christ, oh, my God, was there a welcome sign in every paper and everywhere? I was like, go see that movie.
But you know what, Rob, you bring up a very good point, because it does make me think. think when they protested about that, because the Da Vinci Code came out in, I think, '06, right around that time, '05, '06, I believe, and it was, obviously it had a bunch of problems, but my whole thing is like, all right,
'06, yeah.
Yeah, '06. And how many films that you've seen that has been centered around religious stuff has been made afterwards?
Yeah, right.
Like, really, not really.
No,
almost none.
I think because people really were, they were like, that's, even Dogma. I think, hold on, sorry. I think people were really like, I don't want that kind of publicity on my film. But if you think about it, even movies like Dogma, which was a comedy, people were pissed off about that. So, and I know some people are going to say, oh, but you're getting into the religious aspect of things like that. But still, sensitivity is sensitivity.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't understand why this argument that, things that are religiously sensitive aren't going to mean as much as the things that are, like, morally sensitive, like a bunch of dead. If you're going to depict a movie about COVID and have a bunch of dead bodies and people are like, hey, that was my family member that died, people are going to get upset.
They're going to get upset and they're going to protest that and they're not going to want it there. And then maybe
they don't glorify my mother's death, right, for your financial gain. Because that's what it would come down to is this movie going to, like, the movie would honestly, if they did make a COVID movie, it would have to donate the proceeds to something that was charitable. It couldn't just rake in the money itself and, keep it, because then you're just building up people's misery and death.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm saying I think there will be some censorship. I hope not. I hope I'm wrong, but I think there will be some censorship, and we will see a new line drawn in the sand for films that depict any kind of outbreak or any kind of disease, really.
Yeah, I agree. Hopefully, we'll see how Hollywood responds to this, because again, Robin, you never know with them. People might think one way about it, but Hollywood has been known to be like, we will just not touch that subject and move on to something else, or maybe they will do controversy and then do it the way you said, like maybe donate the proceeds.
But on a silver lining and a lighter note, to you executive out there that is writing this down and saying, I heard it off of Real Sharks, it was a good idea, boss, we should totally do it. I swear to God, we will find you if you come up with this idea or write this article about this new wave of censorship. I will find you!
I will find him!
I am so tired of this stuff. Anyway. But thank you, my listeners, for listening to the Real Sharks podcast. I am your host, Rob, with Steve.
Yes.
Joining us from 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. We thank you so much to our international audience out there and all the audience members, to our audience out there internationally and everybody here in the States. We pray for your safety and health. Real Sharks podcast saying we'll catch you on the flip side. Out.